get going here, Don, just to give you the heads up, Thursdays. Tuesday is going to be kind of just a lighter circuit, like regular circuit. Thursday mornings are a primal class where it's more about like moving around and just getting yourself going through a big range of motion. And it's kind of like human movement stuff rather than functional strength training. So a little bit different feel to the class this morning. But yeah, Tuesday, Thursdays are going to be a little bit lighter intensity just because, I mean, personally, there's a lot of evidence that shows that going hard all the time isn't necessarily the way. So if we can kind of undulate that intensity, so, you know, maybe hard on Wednesday, a little bit less on Tuesday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So up and down with the intensity can kind of show a lot more benefits than going hard all the time. So especially right now, we don't want anybody to be run down. All right, so we're going to start off the roller today. So if you're already rolling out, that's okay, but we're going to start off the roller. We're going to start off with a little bit of a breathing exercise. We're just going to breathe in a couple different positions. So let's start with just laying flat on your back. You're going to be facing the ceiling. And legs straight out in front of you, so it's sort of like corpse pose, laying on the floor. So as you lay there, there's going to be a slight round in your lower back, right? You have a natural curve in your back, so your back should come off the ground. We're not going to try to flatten it into the ground or anything like that. But you're going to put your hands right on top of your belly, and you're going to take a nice deep breath in. So as you take that breath in, you should feel your belly rising. Okay, you're going to be trying to kind of push your belly up into your hands. So nice deep breath. And exhale. We're going to take 5 of these breaths. Think about pushing your belly up towards the ceiling, or making your belly push your hands up towards the ceiling. So you're breathing in through your nose, out through your mouth. Let's take 5 of those breaths. So as you do this, we're also going to try to keep the tension out of your chest. So if you think about, you know, if right underneath, you're strapped underneath your rib cage here is a balloon, you're going to think about pulling that balloon down, like somebody's pulling the balloon down and it draws air in. And then when they let the balloon go, it forces the air back out. So we should be wrapping up our 5 breaths there. We're going to stay in the same position, except now, instead of having hands on top of your belly, now we're going to squeeze our sides. So you put your thumb, you know, back behind you. So we're just squeezing our sides like we're going to pinch, try to pinch our love handles, if they're there. So take a nice deep breath here. Again, we're going to try to, you're going to be pushing your belly up towards the ceiling, but we're also going to try to expand our sides, right? So we're trying to get the sides to come out. So try to get the breath to push into your sides as well. So we're going to take 5 nice deep breaths here. Try to breathe in a way where you feel your hands expanding. So you're going to feel your fingertips going up, but we also want to feel those hands expand, like you're also pushing into your thumbs. Okay, so let's take 5 of those breaths. Another thing to notice while you're laying here, I just caught myself doing it. If you take your breath and that arch in your back increases, that means you're breathing with your ribs a lot. And we want to make sure that that's not the primary way that you breathe. They might lift a little bit, but if you take a deep breath and the arch in your back, the part that's arched up off the floor, gets bigger, increases, it means you're lifting your rib cage, and it means you're breathing with your ribs. So we want to make sure that we're breathing with the diaphragm. So as you breathe here, you may almost have to put a little pressure towards the floor to keep that arch right where it is. And we're extending into the hands. Okay. Next one, we're gonna come up to a seated position. So we're sitting nice and tall. You can bring your knees in so that, you know, when you take your breath out, your knees are gonna push into your belly is gonna push into your thighs. So you're here, we're gonna sit tall, and then we're gonna take another deep breath. And we're gonna try to feel this into your back. So we wanna try to breathe so that you feel everything coming into your back, like right around the bottom of your rib cage here. So we're gonna take 5 nice deep breaths. You might get a low back stretch out of this. So if you need a little bit more pressure on your, you can bring your knees in farther and hug your knees a little bit harder if you need a little bit more pressure. Again, we're taking a deep breath in, but because it can't push the front forward, we want it to push the back back. And relax. All right, we're gonna lay back down. We're gonna go through a little bit of rolling here. So the first one, you're gonna pretend that your upper body doesn't work. All right, you're gonna pretend that your upper body doesn't work. So we're gonna be here. So everything above your waistband is dead. Okay, so what we're gonna use is your leg. You're gonna use your leg to come across, and it just sort of pulls the rest of your body over. Okay, then you're gonna initiate again. You're gonna use your leg to reach back and across, and it sort of brings your body back to that lying pose. Okay, so let's do that one more time to the other side, the side that you didn't go to. So this leg comes across, rolls the hip with it. Okay, then it sort of pulls the rest of the body with it. Then on the way back, you're going to initiate with that leg, and we roll back to face the ceiling. All right, so we're going to do that 3 times each side. Remember, you initiate with your leg. It's going to pull your hip in your pocket across in front of you. And then at some point, you kind of reach the point where the rest of your body just rolls over. Then as you initiate coming back, you're going to initiate with your hip, with your leg, opening up, and let yourself flop back over. Okay, we'll do that 2 more times here. Sometimes coming back, it can be pretty challenging. Really challenge yourself to use when you're on your belly, really challenge yourself to use that leg to come back and across, and really focus on having that, you know, dead upper body to where it just sort of follows what your leg does. I have one side, if I'm rolling back to my right, I notice it's much harder for me to coordinate that. So you may find that you have a side that's pretty good and a side that's not. Okay, so that's lower body rolling. We're gonna try upper body rolling here too. And this can be a little bit more challenging, especially going from your belly to your back. So what's gonna happen is now you have dead legs, right? So everything below your belt is not working, right? So we've gotta find a way to roll over. We're gonna raise one arm, reach across, and just kind of the opposite of what we just did, everything will follow. So if you can get your shoulders to roll, your lower body will follow. Now coming back is a little bit more challenging. We're gonna take this hand, reach up towards the ceiling, do your best not to push with this knee. Okay, so you're gonna probably wanna try to push your knee into the ground. Okay, do your best to leave that alone. And it's like your lower body does not work. And then we roll back over to your back. Let's go the other way. So right now we're facing the ceiling. We're gonna raise an arm, take this arm across in front of you, and we roll to your belly. And then we're gonna take that arm, try to look at the ceiling, bring that arm back over, and we open up. Let's do that 2 more times each side. Initiate with the arm reaching across, rolling over. The biggest challenge here, see if you can do it without pushing your knee into the ground to help you turn. right? So we're here, opening up. Once you get enough mass over to the your back side, you're gonna kind of let your hips turn all by themselves. So the challenge here is just letting your upper body do the work and not really initiating anything with your lower body. Good, nice job, guys. What this is doing is, so a lot of your core musculature is reflexive. So if you do this, the proper things are going to kick on to, allow your to make sure that you're not like twisting your spine and all that kind of stuff. So when you do this, you're sort of resetting the system, right? If you have core musculature, sometimes, you have muscles that are stronger than others or more toned, more tense than others. This is kind of a good reset to bring everything back into normal function because it is reflexive. This is built in. This is one of the first movements that you do as a human being. Okay, so just sort of resetting the system there and making things a little bit more reflexive. Okay, all right, so let's stay down on the floor here, but we are gonna sit up. So that's rolling. We're gonna do a little bit of rocking. So we just sitting nice and tall here. You can hold your knees to begin with if you want, but we're gonna roll back and then come forward. So we're just rolling back. Feel a nice stretch. Probably feel a nice stretch on the low back here. We're just gonna roll forward and backward. And good. The next time you come up to the top, we're gonna go ahead and fold hips and knees down. So we're here in this 90-90 position. So one hip turns in, one hip turns out. Basically, the way you do this is if you just have both feet up like this and you're propping yourself up with your hands, you're just gonna take your knees and lay them down to a side. All right, so we feel the stretch here. Whatever hand is on the ground here, so if your right shin is in front of you, you're gonna keep your right hand on the ground, and we're just gonna come up. I'll do it this way so you can see better. So we're here, we're just lifting the hips up, pushing the heel of your hand down through the ground, and we'll hold here for a sec. Good, let's switch sides. So we're just switching, feeling the stretch here. If you can get both cheeks on the ground, try to do that. All right, now if your left shin is in front of you, you're gonna take your left hand, drive the heel of your hand down through the ground. So we lift up, pushing strong into the ground. And we'll switch again. So we switch sides. If you can roll over there without hands, right? So if you can go hands free, rolling one side to the other, that's good. Okay, we're gonna drive that hand down into the ground, lift yourself up. Come back down, switch sides. So we'll roll through this 3 times each side. Pushing that hand down into the ground, lifting yourself up. As you push your hand down through the ground, it should feel like a side plank, right? So if I'm here and I'm lifting up, it sort of is a modified side plank. So we should be nice and strong here, feeling that strength coming from here and just transferring into your arm. You shouldn't be working too hard with your arm here. You should be strong because you have a nice solid core. Good, and let's roll back and forth. We're gonna do one more time each side. All right, last part of the warm up here. We're gonna do a little bit of crawling, or at least crawling position. It kind of depends on the room you have around you. So we're gonna be on all fours, spread those hands nice and wide, and then we come up onto the balls of your feet. So no knees on the ground here. We just have this nice strong crawling position. So we're gonna spend 30 seconds here just moving around. Okay, so if whatever the room allows you to do, whatever the room allows, so you can move sideways, All right, but we're gonna try to keep your back nice and flat like a tabletop. All right, so we'll start our 30 seconds. Here we go. So we're just moving around. Should feel nice and strong. Remember, strong from your core throughout the rest of your body. Ten seconds left. Moving around, knees should be up off the ground if you can. If not, no big deal. We're still getting some core work out of that. Just moving yourself around. 3, 2, 1, and relax. Okay, so we're gonna get into a circuit here, and we're gonna do this for, let's see, so we'll do this for 7 minutes. Okay, so I'll set a timer for 7 minutes here. And we've got 4 exercises. You will need a weight for this. So if you have a weight, like a heavier weight, that'd be good. So four things we're gonna do. And if you don't have a weight, I'm gonna show you how to do it with a band. And hopefully that will be a good enough substitute. So deadlift is one of those things that we do it in like our standard classes, but it's also one of those kind of fundamental human things that, picking stuff up is part of life. So we're going to use this not as like, I don't want to try to rush like 10 times into 10 seconds or anything. Like I don't want this to turn into a kettlebell swing. It's going to be more of like a technique thing, and just making sure that everything feels super sound and that it feels like a nice team effort for your whole body to do this. So we're just going to go down, and what we'll do is we'll just do 10, but I want them to feel nice and sound and solid. So as we go down, the best way to set up for this is just putting the kettlebell handle or weight handle in between your knees or in between your shoelaces. And then you're gonna put your hands on your knees like you're resting, like you're really tired. All right, so we're driving the heels of your hands down through your knees. You're gonna push your chest up, right? So from this hunched over breathing position, we're gonna go push the shoulder blades down, push your chest as far away from the floor as you can, keeping pressure on your knees. Right, from there, we put fingers together and we go down and get the weight, staying nice and solid through the middle, and then we stand. So then we put it all the way back down. Bend your knees as much as you need to. It's gonna be some combination between knee bend and hip bend. So I bend my hips a lot more than I bend my knees. Some people are a little bit different than that, right? So we're just gonna do the deadlift. Actually, we're only gonna do 5 of those because I wanna make sure they're really, really good. Even if you don't have a heavy weight, you can still generate tons of stiffness, tons of strength from here to here, and use that to kind of elevate the weight rather than like lifting it up with your hands or just your legs. So we're gonna make sure that our strength comes from right here. So we're gonna go kettlebell deadlift. On the last deadlift, okay, you're just gonna take it to a side, and depending on the room that you have, we're gonna do a suitcase carry, right? So if you can walk, let's walk. If you have to stand, or if you need to take like 2 little baby steps, take 2 little baby steps, right? So we'll go, I don't know, count in your head here, I guess, about 30 seconds each side. And then we'll switch to the other side. And that'll be that. And then when you put the weight down, it'll be a deadlift, kind of just the same deadlift motion to put it down. Okay, after that, we're gonna crawl. So again, 30 seconds. You know what? I'm gonna just, I'm gonna call out 30-second intervals here, and then we'll all stay together and we'll switch together on that. So the crawl would be next, and then hip 90-90, just like we did. So we'll be on the floor for the next 30 seconds, and just rising up onto that knee and back down. Okay, so that'll be our 4 movements. I'm gonna call 30-second intervals. We're just gonna go from one to the next. No rest time in between. And we'll go from there. So 4 movements: deadlift, suitcase carry, crawl, and that hip 90-90. I'll talk about that one more as we get there. Okay, so we're just gonna count up here. We're gonna go for 7 minutes, just rolling through those movements. Okay? All right, so let's start with the deadlift. So you need a heavy weight. Oh, if you have only a band, that's okay. We can do both the deadlift and the carry. So if you have this band, you can step on it, and then it's under your feet, but you're just pulling up, right? So say all the same principles apply. Now you're just holding on to that. For the suitcase carry, you would just step on one side, right? So you can create as much tension as you need to by stepping on the band, you know, closer or farther from the end. So we just hold like this, right? And a lot of times, depending on the weights that you have, a lot of times you can make it heavier with the band. So, okay, so we're gonna start with the deadlift. Ready? And here we go. So we're just working a deadlift here. So it should feel nice and solid. David, let's try to keep shoulder blades back and down. As you put the weight down, the weight should be, not because you're forcing it there, but because it just goes there. The weight should be touching right between your feet. So the first part of this movement is to get your hips back. All right, we're on to the suitcase carry. Let's go ahead and carry 30 seconds one side. So if you have room to walk, let's walk. Make sure shoulders can stay level here. And switch hands. So we're just staying nice and level. Ten seconds left on this side. And weight down and right into the crawl. So again, if you have room to crawl, if you have room to move around, we can move around in lots of different directions. That can be sideways, forward, backward, or just moving around using the space in your room. Nice and strong through the middle. If you had somebody's dinner plate on your back, you shouldn't spill that. And then we hit the floor 90-90, so one hip turned in, one hip turned out. And we're just gonna rise up onto that knee. So we're pushing your hips forward here and back down. We're gonna stay on the same side for 30 seconds. So it's not about how many reps you can get in, it's just getting a feel for that movement and making sure it feels okay. You're gonna shift your weight forward, push hips or push knees down into the ground, make yourself rise up. Let's switch sides. So flip your hips the other way. And rising up. Use fingertips if you need to. It's okay to use a little bit of help from fingertips here, but really what we're doing here is kind of flossing all the nerves, all the muscles and the fascia along there. All right, so we're getting everything under tension and then we're using it. Okay, we're back to a deadlift here. So 30 seconds for deadlift. Remember, the first thing that's going to happen is don't think about lowering the weight. Think about pushing your hips back, right? So as soon as you push your hips back, the weight is going to return right between your knees. And from there, we keep it back and go to the floor. So when your hips push back, you'll feel that weight go between your knees, which is where we want it. Good, and let's carry. So suitcase carry one side. Trying to stay nice and tall. Don't let the weight affect how you stand. And switch hands. Remember, you can do this with a band. If you're doing it with a band, the band should be tight enough so that it feels like a side plank. Right, so it should feel work on the opposite side here. Staying as tall as you can. Think about the top of your head touching the ceiling. And good, let's crawl. If you're going forward, really whatever direction you're going, you're going to think about left knee to left elbow. That means we're reaching forward with your left foot and forward with your right hand. So we should be working in opposites here. If you find yourself stepping forward on the same side at the same time, you need to find a way to alternate. All right, fold the hips over. Sitting on the floor here, we're coming up. Rising up towards the ceiling. Nice, slow, and controlled on the way down. Good, let's switch sides. And rising up. Should feel your cheeks nice and strong at the top there. So not only are we using our hips here, we're also kind of mobilizing. And again, putting them in a position that they're not always in. But these are all good, healthy human movements for us to be in. All right, last time through, let's go deadlift. Taking this opportunity to make this feel like a team effort so that you get strong in your core, you get strong through the middle, so that when you decide to lift the weight just comes up. So before you put pressure into that weight, think about making your belly strong like you just sneezed, and the weight should come up. All right, suitcase carry. Put that weight on one side, either standing or walking around the room. And let's switch sides. I'm pretty lucky here. We have this is a 28 pound kettlebell, so it's about 65 pounds. But you know, I can only use it for so much. But sometimes those dial-up weights, they're a little bit chintzy and cheesy, but they do give you a lot of options. So we have a set of those here. So we've got from like 5 to 55. And then we've got some heavier kettlebells. But yeah, if you're looking for stuff for the house, those would be good additions. All right, let's crawl. Last time we're gonna crawl, 30 seconds. Again, should feel nice and strong through the middle, nice and strong through your shoulders. Keep your knees low to the ground, but not on the ground. The modification for this would be to put knees on the ground. This is another one of those reflexive movements. It's one of the first movements you did as a baby. Well, not one of the first, but pretty close. Okay, last time, let's go down to a side here. Folding those hips in, 90-90. Shifting your weight forward, rising up. Give a squeeze at the top. Try to get your hips right up underneath you. And let's switch sides. Ten seconds left. And relax. Okay, good. So like I said, today is less about being a really challenging, really hard workout and more about being like getting you the movements that you need in everyday life. So typically we're going to be like maybe doing some lifting and carrying like we did today, some squatting, some rolling, some like hip mobility, usually on the ground, right? And so after a day like today, you should feel like nice and strong through the middle, you should feel mobile in your joints, and kind of greased up and ready for the day. So good job this morning. A little bit lower intensity, which I think is great for recovery, but we're just going through big movements and making sure that we get sort of that kind of nutrition going as we go forward. All right. So it's not always about blasting away at things. It's a lot of times it's about getting good movements and getting your body ready for the day and ready to do the tougher workouts later on. So great job this morning, everybody. Thanks so much for joining. Oh, shoot, don't leave yet. I got to take attendance. Want to make sure we get everybody credit. David, Amy, Kelly, Steve, Don. And that's it. Okay. So Don, Steve, Kelly, Amy, David, if I did not call your name, I didn't write you down. So somehow yell at me. Okay. All right, guys, have an awesome day. Talk to you soon.
Thanks, Brian. You too.